Hi, welcome to the Humble Watch Guy. This is my first review in 2021, and I thought I'd take a look at a brand new watch company based in Cambridge in the United Kingdom. The company are called Bowcroft, and it's a company run by two guys, Matt and Kareem. The company takes its inspiration from the city in which they live, which is the beautiful city of Cambridge, home to Cambridge University, one of the most respected and learned universities in the world. Cambridge itself is a fantastic city full of gorgeous architecture. The inspiration for this watch, which is called the Senate, comes from the city of Cambridge. Senate relates to Senate House, which is a beautiful neoclassical building which forms part of the university. It dates back to 1720s and was originally a meeting house. Nowadays it's more commonly used for graduation ceremonies. So I had the opportunity just before Christmas to meet with Matt and Kareem in Cambridge in order to look at this watch and to purchase it for my wife as a Christmas present. I found both Matt and Kareem to be lovely guys, very passionate about what they do and passionate about quality and mechanical watches. So it was a lovely meeting, and let's have a look at the watch and see what we get for this first watch from the Beaucroft Watch Company. This is a 40mm watch. It has 18mm lugs, 44mm lug to lug, 10mm high, deep. This watch weighs in at about 55 grams. It features the Miyota 9039 automatic movement and a 316L stainless steel case. Let's have a quick talk about that movement. The 9039 I think is a great choice for this watch. It's a great movement. It's a 4 Hertz movement, beats at 28,800 beats an hour. It has a 42-hour power reserve. It has a hand winding capability. It's hackable, so you can get the seconds hand to the dot. And the 9039 is a dedicated no date movement. So a lot of companies use like a Salita SW200 movement in their watches. And if you don't have a date complication on your watch, you get a ghost date position when adjusting the time and the crown itself. When you pull it out, you go to a ghost movement first of all before you hit the time setting position. Now with the 9039 you don't get that, you just get a straightforward no date complication, and I think that's a perfect choice for this watch. Let's have a look at this movement in just one moment, because this is the first edition of the Senate from Beaucroft, and to differentiate the first edition they've done something very, very nice indeed. Let me have a quick look. Let's turn this watch over. Here we go. You'll see that on the back, let me come in a bit closer, see if I can bring that in a bit closer for you. There we go. You'll see it says around the outside, Beautiful Creations of Time, Senate First Edition, 3 ATM, that's the water resistance, 30 meters, and a serial number. The movement itself, the 9039 movement, you'll see it's got that beautiful Côte de Genève fluting on the movement. But just take a look at that rotor. They've custom designed this rotor. For the first 50 of each colorway, they're going to include this beautiful gold rotor. Now this isn't just gold painted, it's gold plated. So for the first 50, it's gold-plated rotor, and that's beautifully decorated there with the Bowcroft logo. I think that's a lovely touch there. Now, after the first 50 of each colorway, the decoration, I believe, will still remain on this rotor. It just won't be gold-plated. So the first 50 on this first edition will be gold-plated. That's a lovely touch from Beaucroft there. You see the nice etched crown there. And while we've got this going, let's have a quick look at that crown, because I think this is something on the watch that could divide opinion. Beautifully proportioned there. I think you'll agree that looks wonderful. When I turn it face on, look how thin that crown is. Now, I think for a lot of people that's going to divide opinion. If this was a hand wound watch, that certainly, in my opinion, would not work. It's far too delicate. Let's turn it over and look at it from the other side. And there you see, almost like a discus shape, like a little flying saucer. It's a very, very, very pretty crown, but very, very delicate. Now, as I say, on a hand wound watch, that wouldn't work. But on this automatic work, I think it works very, very, very well indeed. It keeps with the gorgeous, simplistic lines of this watch. Doesn't stand out too much. In fact, it doesn't stand out at all, really. I think it looks very, very delicate, very nice, very in keeping. Perfectly proportioned. Now, you don't need to use it too often with this automatic movement. Wearing it will power the watch. So for the very odd occasions when you need to give it a quick tweak, when you first maybe start it up in the morning, you want to give it an extra little bit of power, it's actually a very, very grippy little crown. So again, design, I think, is very, very nice there. It doesn't dominate the watch. It doesn't detract from the watch in any way, shape or form. Still functional. And on the automatic, yes, you can definitely get away with that. The strap on this one is a genuine leather strap, stamped with the Beaucroft name. And the buckle features the Bowcroft logo. The logo, I think, is very, very nice indeed. It reminds me very much of the Patek Philippe logo, although the Patek Philippe is maybe a little more fancy, but I think that works. It's a nice looking little logo. The clever things with this watch, which I really like, which Beaucroft have done very nicely, the shape of the case starts at 40mm and tapers down very, very nicely. And when you look at the lug to lug, what they've done, they've kept that very, very small, 44mm. They've angled the lugs beautifully. Now, what that means is that this watch wears very, very nicely indeed. It's a lovely looking watch, but it wears very nicely. So therefore, it can be used by people with smaller wrists. It's designed to be a gender-free watch, so that it can be worn by male or female. And I think that's a really, really good idea. It's the color variations tend to add more of a gender feel to them. So this one I think is very, very modern. It's quite dressy. The color is very muted, but I think that makes a lovely ladies' watch. And that's not saying a gentleman couldn't wear this, because they could quite clearly, but I think the colour looks very, very nice. The dark blue version they do of this with a dark brown strap, I think is very, very masculine. So they've made a watch which really crosses over the boundaries between a man's watch and a woman's watch. And I think they've done that incredibly nicely indeed. While we're on the subject of colours, let's have a quick talk about the colours they do. They've got this in this colour, which is called the Cambridge Blue, which is a lovely looking greeny blue colour. It's very, very nice. Pale blue in some lights, greeny blue in others. They also do this in a white dial, and they do it in a stone grey dial. And as I mentioned a moment ago, a dark blue dial. All very, very nice indeed. The case on this one, I think, is lovely. They've got a beautifully high polished bezel on this one, and then this lovely, almost satin finish case. Very, very fine brushing satin finished effect on this, which transitions through into the top of the lugs. The highly polished crown, which stands out nicely there, and the highly polished case back. I think it gives a really, really nice feel to this watch. And when you look at it on the wrist, the satin finishes softens visually the effect of the watch, and again makes it appear smaller. So again, very, very nice design details there from Bowcroft. But let's have a look at the dial, because I think it's a real star, this dial. It reminds me very much of some Danish designs, specifically Larsen. I think it really takes me to that design, and almost Bauhaus in its effect, in its styling. You see it's got a lovely channel, flute, mote, running around, creating almost like a center dial. You've got applied indices. You've got these lovely teardrop shapes at the 6 o'clock and the 12 o'clock positions. If you look at the logo, you see that they are combined with two more to make that lovely logo. A nice little feature there. The polished indices are very, very nice and catch the light beautifully. You've got the minute dots around the outside, and if I move in a bit closer, you can see that also around the outside you do have the numbers. Now, what I like about this as a design feature is those numbers aren't obvious all the time, but they're there. So it's a lovely little attention to detail, which I think is very, very nice indeed. It's a lovely looking watch. It really is. And what I like about this dial particularly is it's very balanced. You've got the Beaucroft name at the 12 o'clock position. You have the model Senate at the 6 o'clock position. You have automatic at the 3 o'clock position. And typically with this, let me just move the hands because I think we can see it if I move those. There you go. You've got at the 9 o'clock position, you've got Cambridge. Very, very, very balanced dial on this watch. You see I've hacked the movement there to stop it. Let's push that back in. There we go. It's a lovely looking dial, very balanced dial, very clean, but full of detail. So it's simple, yet detailed, which is a very, very nice touch indeed. Now this watch retails at £325, and I think for a great Miyota movement, it's a Miyota 9039 as I mentioned, which is very reliable, a lovely, accurate movement. One of Miyota's flagship movements. It's very thin, which allows them to keep this watch at 10 millimeters in height, which makes it a lovely watch to wear underneath the cuff of a shirt or a blouse. It's a lovely looking, classy dress watch. Now, it's not without its faults, this watch. And I say faults, I mean one fault as far as I'm concerned. I think the rest of the watch is lovely. If I were to make one slight observation, rather than a criticism, more of an observation, it's the hands. The beautifully sleek. But in certain lights, if I move the watch around like this, you'll see in certain lights, all three hands look very, very similar. As the hour hand passes the indices, and it forms one line. The second hand is a similar size, similar shape. The minute hand and second hand are identical apart from the finish on them. So in certain lights you can actually confuse the seconds hand with the minute hand, and occasionally at the wrong time with the hour hand. Now they've tried to address this by making the minute hand and the hour hand brushed, and that replicates the brushing on the side of the case. The second hand is polished, which goes nicely with the indices and the bezel, and it does work very, very nicely. It keeps it very clean, very sharp. But at those moments when you catch it wrong, you have to just give it a second to see which hand is the second hand, which one's moving, because they can be confused. Now, I don't think that's a major problem, but it's more of an observation. And when you just look at the watch for maybe give it a second, you'll see which hand is moving, so therefore it's obvious which one is the right hand. But maybe adding a counterbalance, maybe putting a tip on the second hand, maybe changing the sizes of the minute and the hour hands could have prevented that. But would it have spoilt the aesthetics? Possibly. Would it have taken away from what Bowcroft wanted to achieve? I think definitely. So it's an observation rather than a criticism. So all in all, we've got a fantastic watch, sapphire crystal on the front, sapphire crystal on the back. An absolutely beautiful working on the back of this case with that gorgeously designed rotor. And if you're lucky enough to get one of the first 50 of each colorway, you get this gold-plated rotor. Absolutely beautiful. The case, stunningly beautiful with that two-tone effect. I think it works very, very nicely indeed. The unusual, but in my opinion, classy and clever crown on this watch, and a lovely strap. This one is the olive strap, which I think goes very, very nicely with the color scheme in this on this version. They do offer a range of straps. The price, £325, I think represents great value for money for a good quality watch, well made, beautifully finished, with a lovely 9039 automatic movement. I haven't been able to review this watch before now because, to be honest, my wife has been wearing it constantly. She loves wearing it and she says it's very comfortable, it feels great, and to be honest, she loves it. And that's all you can ask. I will do a wrist shot, a little video of my wife wearing the watch at the end of this video, just so you can see how it sits on the wrist. If you're interested in the watch, I will put the link to the customer name, the customer website at the bottom of the screen as you're looking at it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please consider subscribing to my channel and maybe hitting that notification bell so that you're aware of when I update further videos. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, stay safe, and bye for now.